Hello, hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping It Real Estate. So, this is a show that we're going to do. We have 2 dates set up already, and hopefully, there we go. There you are. Perfect.
Oh,
You
yeah.
are.
So maybe we can do some small talk until a couple people join.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm not quite sure why it's giving me some connection problems. It keeps saying they're telling followers that you've started a live video, and so hopefully people will join it. I guess I was just, saying to people this is the first of the add-on series, Keeping It Real Estate, where we just talk generally about, you know, mortgages and what's going on, what we're seeing out there, and a bit of education as well so people understand.
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
there we go. I think we're working now. So thank you again, Natalie, for joining. This is the second segment I'm doing today, so I was having some technical difficulties, and this one is keeping it real, where we talk about mortgages. Thank you. And we're going to just chat about what's going on in, well, I want to say the GTA, and we can talk Canada in general, whatever you please. So, once again, for all of those who haven't um, been on a show before with me and Natalie, I'll have Natalie introduce herself and her Instagram handle as well.
Sure. So I'm Natalie Vieira. I'm a mortgage agent with Dominion Lending Centers, and my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at Mortgages Vieira.
Awesome. It's so simple, eh? When you keep it all the same. um,
Kept it all the same, even the website.
yeah, no, and
Easier to remember.
that makes a world of difference. Yeah, that's the piece I missed the boat on a little bit. Um, Anyhow, we wanted to talk about mortgages today, so thank you so much. I know this is like the most important piece, right? At least for me, because I want to go in, I want to know it. My buyers, I want to have them feeling confident, I want them feeling prepared, and I want to be feeling prepared and confident to know what we can do. So I appreciate your partnership, I really do. Uh,
My
so,
pleasure.
yeah,
I
thank you.
love working with real estate agents because then, a lot of the times clients, you know, they don't want too much information. They want things simplified, right? And
Mhm.
when we're working in the background, I can communicate with real estate agents, and it just makes it so much easier. And it's, we get our documents, sometimes from the real estate agents, and it just makes it, everybody's busy nowadays. So if we can simplify it for the client, it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel, particularly for me, I ask the client a question, they don't know the answer. So they are like, okay, let me go ask the question. So while I've asked them maybe three questions, they've come back with the answer for one. And then I'm like, what happened to the other two? And they're like, oh, I totally forgot. I couldn't remember the question. I totally forgot. And so sometimes um, some clients are very like they want to be involved, which is fine. And some clients are like, oh my goodness, can you just like do this? And so that helps out a great amount of time, like where, we can chat and I know what's going on with the file. The client knows what's going
Yeah,
on with the file.
absolutely. Open
Yeah.
communication. Just I'm always updating the real estate agents on the file. Just so they know what's going on. And if they have specific questions in regards to their file, as long as the client, um, you know, um,
Give
helps
authorization.
out, not helps out, but gives authorization to speak
Hmm.
with a real estate agent. We can have open communication in regards to that file, and it does. It makes things run a lot faster, smoother, and sometimes the client just wants a home at the end of the day, and they
Yeah,
want to know that that mortgage is going to close on time, and there's not going to be any hiccups, and they don't want to be stressed out about that, right?
yeah,
That's why we're here,
absolutely.
and I ask the real estate agents, how can I make your job easier, right? It's a partnership. We're here to help one another, and at the end of the day, it does come down to the client and putting their best interest first. And by working together, I think we're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section. I, I mean, it's an open forum kind of conversation today,
Yeah.
but I wanted to kind of just understand. The rate just went up not too long ago, and I was just kind of I was curious as to what you were seeing, the impacts, and what your thoughts were on that piece.
So usually the Bank of Canada rate, when they did increase back, in March, and so it went from 2.45 to 2.7, and usually lenders take a couple of days, sometimes up to a week, to start increasing their rates or their prime rate in this case. Um, so most lenders have increased the prime rate to 2.7. The fixed rates were already increasing before even this Bank of Canada announcement. So now because of the prime rate increase as well, there's been some increases. But at the end of the day, mortgage rates are still relatively low.
Mhm.
They just increased 0.25%. If you really consider that in, like a $500,000 mortgage, it could be, maybe $80 per month, an increase. So if you're locked in a fixed rate, um, then you're probably good. If you
Mhm.
are variable, then you can expect to have an increase on your mortgage amount in the next, I would presume in the next 6 to 9 months, that there are going to be more increases.
Yeah. And the variable rates are, I mean, I know they were going up prior to you, but they're pretty low. So, I mean, even with a quarter basis points increase, um, it's not that much of an impact. I mean, I guess if you're really tight, like I don't think anyone is getting approved um, at being
I
so
think
tight
what,
that they can't
yeah,
afford it. Yeah.
I think what people are struggling with the most is being able to afford a home,
Yeah.
not because of the rates, but because of the prices, right?
Hmm.
Housing prices, some people were thinking that, they may drop, there were even talks about a housing bubble, and, but, we live in the GTA. Toronto is a hot area, and immigration levels are increasing. They have not, like sort of put a hold on that because of the pandemic either. People are still entering the country, and these people need a place to live.
Hmm.
So we need to keep up with that. In Canada, unfortunately, we don't have a really good plan when it comes to, opening up those doors for home ownership. I think that, of course, with spring now here, that, there's going to be an increase in the market. More people putting their houses up for sale. The building now is going to be taking off as well because the weather is getting better. But, we still have a lot of work to do to make sure all these people get housed.
Yeah, and a lot of times I tell my client, right? Because I think um, people start with, oh, I want a house, and then they're like, oh, but I can just stretch a little bit more. I can try and get something bigger. And a lot of times I'm saying to people, like, you do not need a 3 bedroom if you don't have the need for a 3 bedroom. It could be a couple and they're like telling me, well, I need a 3 bedroom. And I'm like, why are you buying real estate for people who may visit you
Yeah,
once in five
absolutely. I
years,
agree.
right?
I've had those scenarios too where, you know, it's not like back when our parents' generation where they bought a home and they kind of just stayed in that home for many, many years, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chances of them they're selling their home um, were very unlikely. They stayed in that home for 20, 30 years. But now, the average, house ownership is like 3 years, right? So people are moving a lot.
So yes.
And yeah, that's the average every 3 years because why? We have different lifestyles, we have children, we have there's so many different reasons why we want to move up or down. But what I say to my clients is, you may not be able to afford, a house or even a townhouse, but getting into the condo market, especially as a first-time home buyer, it might not be your ideal house, but you're going to get in there and start building some equity, right? It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you're renting and you're paying somebody else's mortgage. But if
Mm-hmm.
you sacrifice for 2, 3 years and just, minimize, like this minimalist approach to your life, where you can just do without the extra room, and you're sacrificing, but at the same time, you're building equity. So now, at
Mm-hmm.
the end of 3, 4 years, now you have enough equity and that's going to transfer over to a bigger property. So that's kind of how you have to look at it if you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about buying in the GTA nowadays and you're trying to get into the market.
True, true. And that's a good conversation. And, taking a little bit of a segue into a little bit of talking about perhaps, when people are qualifying for a mortgage, there are a few factors, right? And it's not just all about one thing, but there are a few factors to consider. And I think people think it's like rate. And rate is important, but there are other factors that go along with it. And perhaps you can just, give us some insight or some thoughts on that piece.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, of course, rate is important because that's going to affect your monthly mortgage payments, right? And the less you pay, the better it is. But at the same time, um, as a mortgage broker or a mortgage professional, we're here to work with our client. We're here to represent our client, to educate our client, because there's so many different parts to a mortgage, and it's not very cut and dry. And sometimes when I tell people they're expected to get a certain rate, and then they don't, it's higher than what they expected,
Mhm.
they think it's because I did a bad job. Um, but in reality, it has so many components to a mortgage, right? It has
Mhm.
to do with their credit, how they've been handling their credits. Um, it has to do with how much down payment they're having put down on the property. It depends on their income. It depends on the property. It depends on a lot of factors. So, the most important thing that, somebody has to remember is that that you associate yourself with a mortgage professional that is going to look out for your best interest, right? So that's why when I take on a client, I ask a lot of questions. I get to know the client. It's the KYC approach, know your client. It's one of the most important factors of a mortgage. Because if I don't know my client, I don't know where their down payment is coming from, or I don't know, how much they can afford. I'm not doing a good job, right? So I need to know as much as possible. And sometimes it's also important to know that we're not here to, judge on your situation. We're totally unbiased. Um, we're just here to find you a good product. And there are a lot of different products out there that the public is not aware of because, most banks don't really offer these products like reverse mortgages
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
purchase plus improvement or, self-employed products. There's like a wide range of products that we have access to, and we can offer these to our clients. But if they don't come to us and ask for help, we don't know that they need the help. So it's important to reach out to mortgage professional and tell them,
Mm-hmm.
like, very openly, this is my situation. Um, this is my income, and this is where my income is coming from, and this is how much down payment I have. And we can work from that. But sometimes if you're trying to hide information, that can, backfire. It's not a good idea to
Yeah.
to you have to disclose everything, and that's why it's a relationship with my client and I. It's when I do a mortgage for them, I'm working with them for a period of 2 or 3 months. Many phone calls, it's many conversations, a few meetings, and because I really want to get to know them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
invested in them, and at the end of the day, they're not just here for one mortgage. They're probably going to come back to me, hopefully, if I do a good job,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, in 3 years or 5 years, or they're going to refer me to somebody else, and you end up being part of that circle. So it's important. They're like my friends, right? I want what's
Yeah.
best for them, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. You said it well. I mean, my theory on life on with my clients are the same. I say to them, look, I want to sell you a house, and I want to sell you your next house, and I want to sell you every house that you buy, and I want to sell your kids a house, and I want to sell your family a house, and I want to sell everyone that you know a house. I said, because when I'm done, you're going to refer me, and that's kind of how I work, right? It's about getting to know them. It's about, um, you know, knowing everything where they're telling you what they need to tell you so that you can do what's best for them, right? Nothing worse than surprises. I work with a lot of first time buyers, and, I tend to, they pull on my heartstrings,
Me too.
and um, but I also have a lot of buyers, immigrant buyers that come from countries that don't have the same sort of housing rules like we do, right? And
Yeah.
so I think they think that you can just go and somehow the owner doesn't have any say in how much they sell the house for, and how mortgages work. They think they can just, the bank just has to give them all this money because they bring home a paycheck for so much, and they can afford to pay this mortgage because their paycheck. So, I had a guy tell me, well, my paycheck is like um, $4,000. Why are you telling me I don't qualify to pay this mortgage? And, so the education piece is so important to make them understand what are the factors that go in and how much they can get qualified for.
I
So,
agree.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah. So I think
There's
those are
so there's so
important
many
steps.
factors to a mortgage, and it is very dependent on, the income and supporting documents or everything, right? And sometimes we do ask for a lot, um, and sometimes people get surprises like, why do you need all these documents? And at the end of the day, that's what the lender is asking for. We're just here, as a link between the client and the lender. And if the lender is asking for all these documents, it's because that's what they need. At the end of the day, it's the way I operate is I like to pre-approve a mortgage. So I ask for all documents up front. It just makes it so much easier because, like you said, there's always surprises, believe it or not. And when I have those documents and I'm underwriting the file, and in this market, if they have to go firm with no conditions, you know,
Hmm.
I can give that security to the client or to the realtor that, this is a solid file. It's good,
Hmm.
right? Like I've already
Yeah,
underwritten
absolutely.
the file. Um, And I tell them like this is the maximum property price that you can actually afford. Don't go over it, especially if you're insured, right?
Unless
Because
you have
those
money to
ratios are
raise.
tight.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
having a CMHC, well, not just CMHC, but there's Sagen as well and Canada Guarantee. Those are
Hmm.
the insurers that if you have less than 20% down payment, you need to get this mortgage default insurer that protects the lenders in case
Yeah,
you default. So um, those ratios are 39, 40, 42. So you cannot go 39.1 or 44.1 or
yeah,
42.1. It has to be under, and if you go over, you're going to get declined. It's very strict like that, and so that's that piece that sometimes we have to just educate and say, okay, this is how it works. And I usually send a pre-approval letter to the client, and I say, okay, this is your maximum property. Don't go over this. And they're usually pretty good about that.
yeah. No, absolutely. Um, so, when do you think will be the next rate increase?
Um, that's a good question. And nobody knows for sure. I mean, we know that there's going to be increases,
Hmm.
but at the same time, there's been some stuff going on in the world. There's still some issues like backlogs of products, and so we don't know. But I believe that it's going to be increased.
Yeah.
We have our next announcement in April.
Hmm.
So we're already in April. Are we in April? No, we're not.
No, in March.
No, we're not. It's in April. I forget the date, but I think it's the second week of April. But I usually post. So they have 8 announcements per year. So we don't know. It could be, April or June. One of those is going to happen, right? I mean, people
Yeah.
were predicting, economists were predicting, between 4 and 6 increases in the next 12 to 18 months. So, like, who
Hmm.
knows, right? Um, but yeah, it's gonna go up because inflation is so high right now, right? Like, I don't know, I think last time I checked was like near 6%.
Yeah, I believe.
So in order for that inflation to come down, the interest rates have to go up.
Yeah, it is a bit of a crazy world out there. I mean, you know, and hopefully all we can do is pray for peace, right? I mean, that's all we want in the world. And then we want some things to settle down so that life can go on a little um, smoother.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
with
for
this
sure.
pandemic and then war, and
This
it's just
war
like
has taken a
nonstop.
toll. I mean, we just got over one big hurdle of getting through a world pandemic, and now we have to deal with more. We're very lucky in Canada that we don't have to deal with that, but at the same time, it does affect us. Whether it's Canadian economy or global economy, we're affected.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, as people, as citizens of this world. Yeah, so let's hope that, they can come to some kind of resolution, and, we just pray for peace, like you said.
yeah, just praying for
Yeah,
peace.
absolutely.
Um, so I guess we were a little late starting up today, and we had some connection issues. But in looking to wrap up, like what is one of the things that you may want to share um, with our audience right now? Um, what are you seeing? Trends or any such
Um,
thing that we haven't touched on?
so as far as trends, when it comes to being a mortgage professional, sometimes we're just in our own little world, honestly, because we're really just worried about what the lenders are offering us, right? So, every morning we get a whole bunch of emails with updates from our lenders. And, that's part of my job to, read these emails and find out if there's any changes to their rates, or if, there's any products that's becoming available. I mean, lenders do from time to time. have like whisper specials or, undisclosed rates. And, it's so the client has to come in touch with us and say, okay, like, I'm looking for a mortgage. Can you help me? And, the first step is doing a mortgage application. We have Dominion Lending Centers has a client experience. It's not really an application. We call it a client experience. But at the end of the day, they do have to, submit that application, because with that application, then we can work with their information and find out what it is that they're looking for, right? Everybody has a different situation. They could be refinancing a mortgage. They could be renewing a mortgage. They could be switching from a lender because they're not happy. So there's so many different reasons. And so starting with an application, that's the first step. It takes about 10 minutes to fill out online. And with that, then I can pull their credit. I can, underwrite the file. And then the next step would be to submit the documents. And basically, that's my job. As far as trends, I don't really know, but I know that reverse mortgages are, going to be, one of the products that's going to become more and more popular, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, because with the older generation,
Mm-hmm.
they're, the pension and old age security just does not cut it for those that are 65 and older, or even 55 and older if you want to retire earlier. So what people have done in the past, and some still continue to do, is that they invest in real estate, they invest in their own home, but when it's time to retire, they have all this money tied up in their home, right? That's their money, that's equity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so reverse mortgages is a great program for people that are 55 and older, and they can access up to 55% of their equity. And you can have the choice of having monthly payments. So basically, you're paying yourself from the hard work money that you have invested into your property. Or you can get a lump sum payment. Or, if you have a large mortgage, then you take on a reverse mortgage, as opposed to having those monthly payments of, a certain amount. And then reverse mortgage is going to eliminate those mortgage payments. And all one has to do is pay their property taxes and make sure the home is in good condition, and they have to live in the home for at least 6 months. Um, and what a lot of people are doing too is they're helping out their kids, right? Because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
now kids cannot come up with a down payment because they can't afford homes. They're, more expensive. So now they're taking out reverse mortgages so that they can, give some funds to their kids or even grandkids sometimes to take advantage of that, so they can get a home themselves. So that's
Yes.
kind of like a trendy thing that we're going to see um, in the spring as well.
Yeah, no, I've been noticing that too. Some of my older clients that are not ready to leave their nest yet, um, you know, they've been, uh, considering that piece. Um, but I did want to thank you for, coming on today. Uh, I really, really appreciate your time. I know, um,
Thank you for
uh,
having me. It's always a
yeah.
pleasure seeing you. We're going to be doing this on a monthly basis, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So we have another one coming in April. For all of you that don't know me, my name is Jacqueline Watson. I'm a realtor with Sutton Group Tower. Um, feel free to connect with Natalie at Mortgages Viera. Um, and if you'd like, and if you have questions before our next April session, I normally post the story post on my stories, of course, um, over the weekend, and I announce who that I'm interviewing. This is a double session. Natalie comes on at 6:30. We're doing it once a month. I do a double session. Um, and Natalie comes on for that double session. And so if you have any questions on mortgages and you'd like to just ask them, you can pre-ask them, or you can come here and type your questions in the comments. And if you're looking for a mortgage specialist or you want to connect with Natalie, please connect with her on her Facebook page, her Instagram page. And once again, Natalie, I'll leave you to tell them how they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to add to that. Thank you again for having me. Once again, it's always a pleasure being here with you, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
So one thing that we usually talk about is this DLC app. It's just, I love it. I myself use it all the time. I know you use it as well,
Yes, the
Jacqueline.
app.
Do you
Yes.
like it?
Yeah, the app is really good. Like, yeah, I forgot to mention, Natalie has this amazing app. And so if you want to, know more, like, make sure you connect and get a look at the app, because then you get to look at, refinancing. It's quite informative. I use it because sometimes it's nice on the fly when you just need that information. So yeah, I love the
Yeah.
app.
Absolutely. If you're like home shopping and you haven't connected with a mortgage broker, which you should be doing before you go house shopping, because you don't want to fall in love with that home if you don't know if you're going to be able to afford it. But if you are home shopping and you just want to know what the rates are out there, or if you're going to be able to afford that house, the app is a really great tool. I guess the best way to connect with that app is just go to my website, and then you can just click on the link. It'll take you to that app, which I forget what it's called. My mortgage toolbox app, but I don't know
My
what the
yeah, my
link is.
mortgage, my
Yeah.
mortgage toolbox. Yeah.
So my website is mortgages Viera. So that's Mortgages, and then Viera, V as in Victor, IEIRA.ca, and then it'll be right on the first page, top right corner. You can just click that from your mobile device, download it on Android or iOS. It's completely free, guys, so take advantage of it. And you can also get in touch with me directly from that app if you have any questions. And I'm here, your unbiased mortgage expert, to help you have a stress-free mortgage experience.
Yeah, so it is called My Mortgage Toolbox. It's a great app, um, for any of you looking. I mean, thank you again, Natalie. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
And
It's
thank
always
you,
a
all of you,
pleasure.
for spending some time with us watching this Instagram Live. And hopefully, we'll see you again next month.
Sounds good. Have a good
Take
evening.
care.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.